So there's a lot of different ways you could do this. This is just the way I normally do. And so this is the eye rig. If I wanted to create a special set of teeth for her, and this would go for most rigs depending on the way they're set up, it's actually not too difficult. So the first thing I'll need to do is make sure that I can select the geometry of the rig. I'm going to select the root control here, and I'm just going to go to body selectable, turn that on. This means I can select the geometry. Then I'm going to just take the teeth and just drag them out of the mouth, just like that. This makes it much easier to just select the teeth. Oh, Roger, this is a demo on creating fangs. So if, let's say you wanted to create a vampire for your shot. So with the teeth kind of out of the mouth here, all I would need to do is select the geometry of the teeth right here, go to vertices, and I can just select these and start moving. Now, the problem here is this is going to be a pain to select things. I have to select the tip of the tooth here and then move it down. Ugh, it's just not going to be fun. So there's a few different ways you can do this. One is I can actually go to faces instead, and each of these teeth is a separate piece of geometry. Even though they all select together, they are separate. There's no connecting pieces. What that means, if I just select the faces here and double click, I'll be able to select just that one tooth with nothing else. With that, I can now just scale that tooth, kind of move it around, maybe angle it just a little bit here, just for the sake of it. And voila, we've got a fang. There we go. Now, what if you do want to start shaping it? Well, this is where you start using soft selection. So if you just do a selection here, I select the vertices and hit the B key, B as in beta, that'll turn on soft selection, which basically means that I can select just one vertice and you'll see it moves a whole bunch. Now if I hold down the B key and middle mouse drag, that will increase the range. And now I can just adjust how much I've got selected and maybe make that just a little sharper right here. Just like that. Now, with that, if you go into your tool settings, you can go to your soft selection and change a whole bunch of things. So there's a few different things that you'll want to do here. First is the fall off mode. Let's actually hit reset. So fall off mode is going to be set to volume by default. What that means is that it's going to do a soft selection based on the entire object, which means I get this. Not really what I want. Instead, if you set this to surface, now it's going to go by the individual surfaces, which means I can just select part of this one tooth and it's not going to affect any of the other teeth. So now I can start to create some interesting teeth here. Something like that. Let's make this another bit of fang here again. And there we go. You can also adjust the fall off method, which is basically the gradient of the selection. So I could do something like this, and now you'll notice I can just pull that out right away. So you can start getting some very interesting shapes just by playing with the fall off. So the soft selection is going to be your friend here. And just like that, I've got this interesting set of teeth. Once I'm done, I can just take the teeth here, set them back into the mouth. And like Tech Draconis mentioned, if you can't move the teeth out, you can always just select them, hit Alt 1, or sorry, not Alt 1, it is Control 1? Yeah, Control 1, to just view those selected objects like that. This way you don't have to pull them out. So Control 1 is Isolate Select. You can also just go to Show, Isolate Select, View Selected. So with that, I now have fangs. Done. So it's really just that. So now we've got just a little bit more of an interesting mouth shape. See, you can work on both teeth at the same time. So if you want to work on like both left and right teeth at the same time, you can do that. You would just turn on symmetry right here. And let's actually see if the symmetry will work. So I'm going to turn on object X. So that's going to be the X axis. It'll be a mirror across the X axis. And I'm going to select, yeah, it will work. So there we go. And now I can adjust both of these teeth together. So this way you just have to do one side at a time instead of having to do both sides one after the other. So just go to right up here, symmetry. Turn that on. And then there you go. So now we got fangs. And you can do all sorts of things. You could just go all out with this. Let's see. Any suggestion ideas for making a good material texture for teeth? That really depends. So with teeth, the main thing with teeth is that they can be varied. So you can have teeth that are nice and clean and pearly white. You could have smokers' teeth that are kind of black, or not black, but kind of browned and kind of dulled. You can have teeth that are rotting and like black and like kind of pirate teeth. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. So in terms of materials and textures, it's whatever you want. One thing I do find kind of just for basic teeth is teeth are very close to porcelain in the way that they reflect light. They're also very close to bone. So if you can, for example, I set a Arnold shader on these teeth here in Maya. And what I did was I just used a preset for ceramic, which is not quite exactly teeth, but it does get very close. So you can use something like ceramic presets to get a little bit more of what close to how teeth tend to work. You will need to make some small adjustments, but it gets you some of the way there. Or if your renderer has presets for bone, that's a good one. You just want to make them lighter. Or if you have a preset for porcelain, that's also really good. And then in terms of adding textures to them, that really depends on what kind of teeth you want. So if they're going to be dirty, you could either like paint out a UV map and add the material yourself, create your own texture map, or you could add something like a fractal map to the color or to the specular to just kind of add dirt to the teeth. There's all sorts of different things. Her teeth, that's horrible. Those upward dips, I think that's the worst part there. But yeah, it's the base of it is trying to get to the more of that ceramic porcelain feel to it. The other thing, and this is dependent on if you are using Arnold or some other setup, but keep in mind that teeth are slightly wet. They're in our mouths. So they're going to have a little bit of a shine to them. Not a shine in the sense of, for example, do I have anything shiny here? I have no shinies. There you go. So something like this where you can see that shine right there. That's because it's hard plastic and it's got this kind of coating on it. With teeth, they will have that. There's the enamel on top of the teeth. So that's going to add some shininess. But on top of that, there's a coat of saliva on them, which is going to make them even more shiny. So, for example, with Arnold, what I like to do with the teeth, and I do this with the skin as well because skin is covered in oil, is just take a little bit of a coat material here, just add in a tiny little coat. Basically, coat is kind of like an extra shine layer over top of an object, which is above and beyond their regular specular shine. So I do this with the tongue as well, or the inside of the mouth. It just adds that extra little bit of um, glint. You don't want too much, or else the teeth and the mouth looks like it's way too wet and kind of gross looking. But just a little bit kind of adds that moisture.